I am
I didn't know I
temporarily
had that.
unmuting us to see, get a little test hit, see if we get any. If I could hear us in the audio.
Okay. Yep. I got a Cobra logo, and I don't know where it came from. These
I
are
am
some cool
temporarily
logos. I didn't know I
unmuting
had
us
these.
to see, get a little test hit, see if we get any. If I could hear us
Didn't know I had that.
in the audio.
Okay. Yep. Well, that's flipping. I got a Cobra logo, and I don't know.
And so now we should be okay. Hold on. We got a 20-second delay. Mm-hmm. I don't hear you. Okay, hang on. Let me do this. And so now we should be okay.
That's your second okay, or your third okay? Okay, that was pretty quick, really. That
Yeah,
was
no,
quicker than 20 seconds. There you go. There I am.
yep, and we have no delays whatsoever. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to mute us all again, so we know that we know. So now we know the audio works. So we're going to go ahead and going to mute us so that
Gotta have the wild. Oh,
Hey, everybody, how you guys doing? I'm Alex, and this is Hipdad, and, and we're doing
hello.
and we're doing a podcast today. Welcome to the show. We are live. War Thunder, let me know if you could hear us in the chat. If sounds good, audio's good. If I'm too hot, if he's too hot, and yes, I could thank Hipdad for letting you know.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for
See, I
audio
gotta.
confirmation from War Thunder, and then we could start. Out and clear. Thank you, brother. How you been? Yep. How you
I've
been?
been all right. I've been all right.
Cool.
Just hanging out, trying to get out of the retirement lazies.
Retirement lazies, but isn't that when you're supposed to become the laziest? It's like you got a license to get lazy card. You know,
Yeah, my whole life's been lazy, so now I gotta fix everything that I've ignored.
because you've got nothing to blame it on or excuse it with, such as I got to go to work tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, I don't have the excuse. I don't have time.
Got you, because that's all you have is nothing but time, right?
Pretty much.
Well, uh, I kind of get that feeling, because I'm starting to prepare myself to go to that transition in life. But the truth is, I'm actually going to look forward to it because then I'll get time to do all the stuff I really want to do, which is
Yeah.
create more of this content. Also, working on this second podcast that I'm doing that's going to be more of the conspiratorial themes, like we were talking about, like I mean, I don't want to get into it here, but like ancient civilizations, timelines, different things how that are being dispelled about what we thought we knew, those kind of things. Interesting stuff that makes you go,
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like why do we drive on a parkway and park on a? I mean, why do we drive? Why do we park on? What is it now? Oh yeah, we park on a driveway and we drive on a parkway.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So anyhow, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm looking forward to do. So other than that, Linuxy wise, this week I was learning more about the Usenet situation in for like automation for my Jellyfin server, and how I discovered that with Sonar, which is a application that you have in your ecosystem that will actually automate pulling down new episodes of things that you're looking for, because it's for like series, like TV series stuff, and Radar is for like a movie stuff, and so it'll automate being able to get those episodes that you might be missing in your catalog. So I've been doing that and learning how to configure those things. That's kind of interesting. It's pretty cool. And then I discovered, I know it's been around for a while, but Usenet. Have you ever played with Usenet before?
A long time ago, and I was also on the BBC before the internet was pictured. But yeah, I used to use Usenet when I would choir.
Mm-hmm. Do you? I mean, I never really played with it in the past. I mean, I went down the same way as everybody else. The old, nappy road. If you know what I'm talking about.
Mm,
That kind of
yep.
stuff. I'm trying not to get copyright strike or content blocked or whatever. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But but
Right.
but I went down that road. Horsing around with stuff, and it was what I've noticed is I'll say this, man. The difference and Usenet has been around a lot longer than the other way, right? But the
Right.
fact is, it is so much faster. That's what I've noticed.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
is
it doesn't
night
have
and
any
day different fast.
graphic crud.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
there's
night and day difference faster, and like the SAB NZBD, which is the client that you use for it. I mean, is so minimal. I mean, and it just like you're transferring at wide open speeds. It's amazing. It's really really amazing. However, though, you have to have a lot of like your indexers, and then your hosting is all got to be, they're pretty expensive. They're not I mean, you have some cheap options out there, but as with anything else, if you buy something inexpensive, you get inexpensive. You know what I mean? And
right.
so it's like they even have a couple free ones out there that you could use, but they're very cluttered and they don't have very much of anything. It's difficult at best. But I mean, if you get into the real life situation of quality stuff, where you get in the bot, where you pay for stuff, dude, it's a night and day difference. It's amazing. Even the quality of the content. Like, when you're looking at something in, like, you say you download a 1080p and you download 1080p on one of the other lesser sites, right? That isn't, a premium paid for site. The quality is markedly different.
Yeah, I mean, I was introduced to Usenet through IRC.
Oh,
I
IRC,
was
yeah, Internet Relay Chat,
Yep.
yeah. That's an old. I know people used to host a lot of back in the day, like when you would go to I went to one. It was a Dreamcast IRC webpage, and they used to use it there, but I never really did get it there because I went and, like I said, the other way. But because it was on everything back then, but they had like ISOs that you could download of full on like games that were like regionally unlocked in the world. Like you could download, for made for Japan only type games
Right. I
in
mean, I
IRC.
didn't do a lot of gaming stuff. I was making physical content.
Hmm. Yeah, but IRC's amazing. You can find anything over there, and it's still cool that it's still around. I mean, it's one of those chat environments that is still around.
Reminds me, I need to reinstall it.
Well, IRC?
Yeah,
Oh,
text
that's right.
chat.
Because you just redid.
That's
Yeah, last week you were saying you were switching over. So you want to tell everybody what you switched over to?
Yeah, I went to Vanilla Arch, and with Vanilla Arch, there was issue with the sound drivers with Pipewire or Pulse Audio, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Arch, we were going through the list and everything, and Arch was like, just leave that unchecked. Don't even check what type of. Don't check Pipewire. Don't check Pulse Audio. Just don't check anything. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't check anything and it installed Pipewire just fine.
So basically, just don't do anything with the audio server when you do the Arch install. Because we were
Yep.
commenting that how it was broken before.
Right,
We were in
and
a chat somewhere,
it
and Steve was mentioning that.
yeah, and it's not what you call broken when you don't choose anything. It just chooses its default.
Right. It just chooses its default, and then it works perfectly fine. That is. Uh. So, what desktop environment did you go with?
Oh, I'm with Budgie. I mean, that was the whole reason for it was to go to Budgie and have no other session clogging up my computer.
Right, and so therefore you're using the Raven for the audio management, right? Like you would have
Oh yeah,
Pavu
for to
control.
be able to access it from the panel. Yeah,
Yeah, the settings. Yeah,
yeah.
and how's that seem to work?
It's okay. It's a little difficult getting used to Raven being all the way over to the right, and then your notification bell is to the left of the clock,
Hmm.
and so you can also access it through the sound icon. But the sound
Hmm.
icon, you have to literally open up the configuration,
Right, right.
so
Well,
it tends to get a little muggled.
I mean, I mean, that's something that you can really, whenever you make a switch like that from one certain, because you were an XFCE user before, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you make a switch from one different desktop environment to another, that is something to be expected. Is the learning curve of the layout of the new. I mean, they may look similar, but they certainly can be somewhat differently laid out very, very easily by the developers. So that is something you got to look out
Right.
for. And I'm glad. I mean, and you've been using Linux for quite a while, so I mean that to hear that you still have some learning curves on that kind of stuff is that's pretty inspiring to hear. So a lot of you new cats that follow or listen to this channel later on, listen to this podcast later on, you can see that even us old pros can get thrown a curve to or not. War Thunder says
Yeah.
Budgie can be a slick experience. You're right, it can be. I remember when it first came out, it was inspiring. It was just such. I mean, it came out at the same time that a lot of desktops were being developed, different desktop environments were being developed, and so when it came out, it was like one after another, and it was almost like we were on like desktop overload. You know,
Well,
kind of like we went through when the browsers got forked. you know, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, and one of the things I really do like about it is the on the panel bar with like KDE or GNOME, but XFCE, when you drag your frequently used programs up to the bar
Mm-hmm.
with like XFCE, when you clicked one, it would make another icon, a duplicate, to show you that that's one of the programs you're using. Well, with
Mm-hmm.
Budgie, it just makes a tick mark.
Oh.
So you don't get this stretch of all these icons coming out from the left. I
Mm-hmm.
go from the top down,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't get this stretch of duplicate icons. So I've rearranged it to where my most frequent icons are on the right of the list. And so when I start running those, they're just right there with little tick marks. Then you can, if you have like two instances of Vivaldi running, you can just right click and choose which window you want to watch.
Oh, that's nice. That's really, really nice, actually. That really leaks up that interface a lot. Well, that's yeah. Budgie, like I said, Budgie's a quality desktop. I think it's not a lot of people talk about it, and not a lot of people give it a lot of credit. Um, but it's a very nice user friendly interface. It does have a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get it dialed in, it's a thing of beauty. It really is. I've often felt that
I
about
really like the theming. Theming is one of the reasons why I stick with it is because when you do dark on Budgie, you
it.
can go to
Yes.
the GTK page and you can choose black, and
Mm-hmm.
it's black. It's
Black,
not
black. Not
dark
that
gray
that
or
dark
yeah.
grayish. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's quality black, black, like HDR black. you know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. No, it does. They do have a black, black that is really, really good. I often thought that too about their theming as well. But I became a window manager guy. But I tell you what, recently I've been playing. I'm a Hyperland guy. I really like Hyperland because of the Wayland. I mean, but of course, you could say that now with GNOME. You could say that with KDE. But the vibrancy of Wayland, the way that Wayland brings your displays to life is amazing. You know,
So
go ahead.
is NVIDIA working multiple monitors properly yet?
I don't have NVIDIA, but I have heard that the newest NVIDIA driver, the 550 series that they've just released, actually it was DT. He mentioned it in one of his videos. It is actually working now with Hyperland, and that's why he's actually testing Hyperland. He's done a couple Hyperland videos because of it.
Yeah, we're on five
And I
five
know
six
that
five now.
and
So
I know in talking to him today on the DT Patreon cast, he states that he has multiple monitors. So I'm assuming, even at home, I'm assuming then that yes, it is working well there. I mean, I'm not trying to assume, of course, when you make assumptions like that, it makes an ass out of you and me, right? But the reality is, I mean, I kind DT's one of those cats that I'll take his word for it. You know what I mean? If he says that it's working, then it's at least working favorably. So yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that I noticed when I made the switch from X11 to Wayland that I noticed almost instantly. I remember because it was with Zany OS that I did it, and it first came on, and I saw the graphics in my. I literally because I was going to go buy a new monitor because this one monitor, one of the five that I have, uh, was I was like, man, this is crappy display quality, da 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 da. I'm thinking I need to go buy, a 4K monitor. And when I made that switch, literally this monitor got saved from the dump. That's
Okay.
how different it is. It's really, really good.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I had a 20-inch monitor laying in my garage, and I thought it was bad, and I went and brought it in and plugged it in, and it was still good. So, I mean, when I had my 3 monitors going, I had a 20-inch on top that I could run like BTOP or a terminal or whatever,
mhm.
and then I have a 47-inch to the left and a 65-inch TV is my main screen.
Wait, you said a 65-inch TV is your main screen?
Mm.
How far away are you sitting from it?
About 4 feet, 4.5 feet.
Yeah. So for me, see, I have you on a 55-inch right now, and it's like 6 feet, 7 feet away from.
Yeah, my eyesight, I have it tilted towards me extreme.
Mhm.
I don't have to use my bifocals. I'm not looking up all the time.
You're not being the Grandpa Linux of Grandpa Linuxes, huh?
Yeah, and that's what I had to do with the smaller screens. I'd have to do that
Yeah.
bifocal thing.
For me, it's just I know I was talking to the guys after the Patreon cast. I said I think how Matt is a keyboard guy that has like all these different keyboards that he uses and he just loves them all for whatever reason. I'm a monitor guy. It's like I can never get enough monitors. I literally if I could set mine up individually, like side by side by one another, I could probably almost get a true if they were curved, all curved. I could probably get a true IMAX feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like the curved, but I was probably one of the first multi-monitor people. I heard about the Matrox G400 that was coming out, and I snatched that thumb gun up right away. And I was
Hmm.
pushing 2 monitors at the same. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the Matrox card. It was a great card. But then they're still in business, but they only do server uh, graphics.
Yep. In fact, that's the actual embedded graphics that's in my PowerEdge server for Dell. Dell uses them a lot.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're quality graphics. I mean, the graphics that in that server. I mean, it's a server graphic, so it's not exactly going to do powerful gaming and stuff like that. But for virtualization, it handled it no problem. But I did do an add-on card of a 7150 Fire Pro AMD, and that just handles so much virtualization. It's got like 16 gigabytes of DDR4 or 5. It's insane. Two GPUs,
Oh,
two processors. Yeah, it gets hot uh quick. And I've got a little on the back. You have to buy them on Amazon, but there's an adapter that'll put a little fan on the back of it that's like a turbo fan. You know what I'm talking about? Like those carpet dryer
right.
fans to cool it off.
Oh, yeah.
For like, I think the adapter, which is they're what you call it, printed. Daggum 3D printed. They're 3D printed, and then you buy the fan separately for it. Altogether, I think it's all of like 30. I think I paid like $36 or $38 for all of it.
Not bad.
Yeah, no, not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, and so yeah, you just use it as your graphics accelerator, and it's amazing. And the Matrox handles everything else. So Matrox does they do have quality graphics. Back in the day they did.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to drive in sim back in the day, you had to have a Matrox.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. So the first topic, oh, I got too close to the mic. Sorry about that. So the first topic of the day that I want to talk about is Ubuntu 2504, and really what I want to talk about isn't first off, I love the names that they come up with. It's going to be called Plucky Puffin, and the daily builds ISOs are now available for download for developers to take. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I mean, there's nothing much in it different at the moment, other than it's got GNOME 48 desktop environment, Mesa 24.3 graphics stack, and the Linux 6.14 kernel.
Here, you know.
Okay, and
Oh,
so
the stream froze.
oh, did it really?
It's there you go. We're back.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't know what it is, but either way. So I mean, it's got and it's also coming with Go 124 built into it, which I recently did an installation of Go for an application as a dependency on my thing. Go is a nightmare to install. I mean, it takes forever. Thanks for yeah, it froze and stuttered for a moment, but it's back now. So Go's have you had the dubious pleasure of installing Go?
Talking about the program that you can use to remote access computers and
No, I
basically
think
do a remote desktop.
no, Go
Oh,
is
that's Go Assist. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's Go Assist. No, Go is for it's a language that a lot well, I don't know if it's a language. It's used by a lot of programs as a dependency to make them run in like it's almost like a language I think like Python actually is what it is. I believe. I'm not sure. But
Oh, okay.
it's a huge program that takes forever to install, kind of like compiling GCC on in Gentoo. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
I've never.
yeah, but anyhow, it already comes with that install, so that's a plus for me already. In all the way by it is. But what really I want to talk about in this isn't so much of what they've done so far, which is a lot so far when you think about it. For me, it's the release progress, the way that they do their releases. I don't think people really appreciate it as much as it should be. Because to me, when you look at the way that they prepare their releases and the way that they have their developers work on their stuff and the maintainers and the contributors work on it, I think it's so awesome that, now that they've gone, and I think the full release is scheduled for like April of 2020. Yeah, April 17th of 2025. What I appreciate so much about them, and even though a lot of people don't like Ubuntu, but what I do appreciate is the quality of time that they take to developing their build. They do it through the proper channels. They do it through the proper way. Release it to developers, give them plenty of time to hammer out their stuff by doing the daily and nightly builds, test driving it and stuff like that before they make the mass adoptions. So many developers I find in talking with many of them in back channels and stuff. They're crushed for time and they just like want to hurry up and get out there instead of taking their time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
I mean,
so
2504 is the LTS, right?
yeah, that's gonna be their LTS. And that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not, I mean, everybody knows if you're going to do like an RC or, like you're on Arch Linux or something like that, and it's a distro that's more of a roll and release or the unstable version of whatever, you're going to have bug fixes and issues that are going to crop up all the time. But when you're talking about LTS, I think that if people modeled the way that they do their LTS versions of whatever distro it is that they're doing, that they should be doing the same thing and following the formula that Ubuntu uses.
Yeah, I mean, they always were pretty good about being regular too.
Yeah,
You know
consistent.
that uh, they're I think they're normally October for their 10, right? 2410,
Hmm.
and then 2504 will be released
In April,
in
in April's one of the
yeah,
25 numbers,
April.
or
Yep.
yeah, yeah, and I just think I like I said, I was reading, that and it just off top of mind just came to me that a lot of people I don't know why, but they're you don't I don't know if it's relevancy. I don't know what it is, but I feel that a lot of developers tend to push themselves to release as fast as possible instead of making sure that their quality is really good. And in a way, I don't know if that's some of what's affected Arco. One of the things that I do know has affected Arco in him and his thing is the way he redid his downloads, the way you can download them. Have you tried to download an Arco Linux lately?
Oh yeah, I remember I recently tried to
Oh,
reinstall it,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
That's right. But
yeah,
but I mean,
yeah,
his page used to be a little bit more confusing before, but at least you knew which one to click on that would give you the different variants of it. Now he's only got like
right.
three variances, and it's XFCE, another XFCE default, and then one that I think is 80E or something, Plasma, I think. to get anything else, like a GNOME or anything else, you have to go to some weird other avenue to get it. I mean, it's buried. You know what I mean? And it used to be a whole lot easier. You could go to I know it was used to be hosted on, I think, SourceForge, and you can click on
They're still
the
yeah, they're
ISO that you
still
want to get.
doing SourceForge, but it's wonky connections for some reason.
Yeah, and so I think in a way, I think he's doing that to streamline his webpage. It isn't so much with the rush of development, but I think that some of the things that you were talking about that have been broken in the way that it installs, like his installer, with the advanced install, I think that is right. Like the Sophorum app has a lot
Right.
of problems, a lot of bugs in it. At least it did. I haven't tried it since, but I did get it, the Hyperland version of his installed, and literally in order to find it, I couldn't use his page to find the install for the ISO. I literally Googled it, and it took me
Oh,
right to,
okay.
and it took me right to the page where I could do it and download it. So I mean, it was really weird, and so I wonder if maybe some of that may be affecting him, or if and other distributions that have been down the road. Like I remember for a while there, it's got the purple almost like triangle sales symbol. Endeavor had some issues like that. I wonder if it was because of that, or the dev team. I think part of the dev team left or whatever. And so what was left behind was kind of crunched for time to get stuff out.
Be very well
So
could be.
I mean, I think that I think, and I just my only concern in that is that if you're new, and once again, if you're finding this chat or this podcast, understand that one of the big things that could be a contributing factor behind that we need to acknowledge is that a lot of these developers that are maintaining these projects or developing these projects or coordinating them all together are somewhat unpaid unless they work for like Canonical, which is Ubuntu, and Fedora. They're major corporations. They are in the corporate enterprise field. So there's a lot of funding that comes from that side over to help fund the the home side. And so there's a lot of that too that we have to take into play. So I'm not trying to dispel or knock any of the hard work people have done that way. I just think that for a much better complete experience, if they didn't put that kind of timeline pressure on them, that they gave themselves 6 months to do this kind of stuff, so maybe 2 releases a year, I think it would help out with a lot of these little issues that people are finding themselves in with these other distros that are out.
Right. Yeah, I haven't been watching the Ubuntu stuff for a while now.
Well, that I've never took my pulse off that, because that I mean, yeah, they were a little crazy stepping out on the limb, creating their own containerized app with Snap and stuff like that. But those have gotten a lot better. Yeah, they're kind of pushing to become sort of like the Windows of Linux with the corporate backing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get that. Then they had this somewhat the telemetry for gathering what people were using their distribution for, which Fedora does the same thing now. Now, mind you, it's not bad telemetry that is, gathering information and reselling it to other parties. They're keeping that telemetry for themselves so that their development team can produce a better, more streamlined quality product for you to be able to use on multiple different things. Like we were talking in that when we were in Matt's server the other day on the voice chat in Discord, how we were how a lot of people complaining about, oh, this hardware doesn't work with this distribution, but it works with this distribution and this, that, and other, and or with with Linux in general. And a lot of that has because a limited amount of developers, b when you compare the sheer volume of just like graphics cards alone that are still being used by people out there from a long time ago to right now in these hardware configurations that they have set up everywhere at home, that is that's a lot of hardware to include drivers for, that are actually viable and working. You know what I mean? So I mean, you can't possibly expect all of these developers, even these corporations who have big bucks to invest in that, to actually have all that under the hood and it not be some huge bloated thing. So that's why that telemetry I feel is kind of important. It helps them drive their product to operate um, the best it can for the hardware that's being used as a conglomerate whole by the greater part of the community that uses their distro. So in a way, I kind of agree with that telemetry. What do you think?
Well, I mean, corporate backing isn't all bad. The only thing to watch is when they flex their muscles and say, "Well, we paid you this many years, and so now we
Mm-hmm.
want you to do this for us." That's what always worries me about corporate backing. It's not that they're actually helping. It's where when are they going to pull on that string and say, "Hey, come here."
You know what? You're right in that. War Thunder says that's true. A lot of people still have 5, 6, 7, and beyond year old devices and want to keep it, getting life out of them. He says he himself has multiple 10 and 15-year-old devices that he's still amazed work on a modern Linux. Yeah, that is true. I mean, at that point in time when they're that old, it's really a roll of the dice whether it's going to work or not. And if it doesn't, then what can you do, really? I mean, honestly. But what you were saying, Hip, is recently came to light about a year and a half ago when Red Hat pulled its little stunt that it did with paywalling some of its stuff, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, there because and a lot of people were slamming Red Hot for it. I remember the heat it was getting, and I'll tell you, I don't quite blame them because I mean, when you look at all of the stuff that Red Hat has done for the community on the home side, all the software that they've created, all the things that they've created, it's okay for them to get a couple pennies back. I mean, Leonard Pottering, he created System D. Look what he did. He went to work for Microsoft.
Right.
Because he had to get that money train. He had to go get his bags. So I don't know that he's getting bags at Microsoft, but I know he's getting paid a lot more than what he was getting paid for what he was doing for Linux. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you do have your time is money, and that's one of the biggest things that people forget, and they tend to in the Linux community, we're probably the worst at it is trying to hassle people that work multiple hours. I mean, work probably 50, 60 hours a week developing code and troubleshooting stuff, and they're doing it and they're not making any money at all.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that time is money, and if these people were actually getting paid, they would be getting paid upwards of 102,000, $160,000 a year,
Hmm.
and that's low pay.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. I mean, and it's so to me, I can understand that aspect of it, where people are afraid because the corporations get involved. But if it wasn't for some of these corporations, we wouldn't have a lot that we do have in the Linux sphere. I mean, the reality of it is I remember when Ubuntu became a thing. I was around for that, and I was around for when Ubuntu literally took it on their entire shoulders to actually profess the greatness of what Linux was when people thought Linux was crap because everything was 100% command line driven at the time. I was talking with somebody today in my voice chat in Discord while you and Arch had left, and we were talking about how he's been using Linux for about a year, and he's comfortable in the terminal. But I says back in my day when I jumped to Linux, you had no choice because everything was you wanted to launch a program, you had to do it in command line. You wanted to install the program, you had to do it in command line. You know, and so uh, what we have today in Linux is solely because of what Ubuntu did for Linux. Back in the day when it was everything was command line driven, Ubuntu started developing a lot of GUI tools, a lot of GUI things, and pushing it out and making it accessible to the world. I remember when they made CDs and distributed them to all these electronic stores, or you could order it by mail, and it would be mailed to you. You remember that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I was introduced to it. I had a friend who was in the States at the time, and he's a professor, and he professor for AI, and he would remote access SSH into my computer and help me install NVIDIA drivers, proprietary.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, well, there's a new distribution that just started coming out. It's called Ubuntu. You might want to try it. And I did, and I liked it. It was easy to install and easy to hit the bricks running. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's still at first I still had troubles with NVIDIA drivers, but later on they were the probably the first distribution that had Ubuntu drivers in their repository.
Yep.
Now, downside was they were kernel drivers. They weren't DKMS like they are now. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime you had an update to the drivers, it could bork your.
Working system, yeah. And of course that was a whole wipe and reload for sure. Back then, you couldn't roll back anything. There was no snapshots or nothing like that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, so honestly, if we're being real and sincere about it, there's a whole lot that a corporation, which because Canonical was a corporation back then as well, um, and Fedora was around back then, as well with the Red Hat. And honestly, I mean, there's a whole lot. Linux wouldn't be where it is today if we didn't have those grassroots. That's fair enough to say. And they didn't
Yeah,
pull
what's
and they didn't pull away a lot of stuff. I mean, and they still haven't. I mean, Fedora still does a lot, with what they're doing, and Canonical still does a lot. They still haven't pulled away. They just kind of tugged a little bit at the string. Nothing major.
really funny and ironic is Ubuntu based on Debian. Uh, One of the reasons why I went to Ubuntu is the Debian installer was just
A nightmare
atrocious.
back then. Oh my god.
Yep.
Yes, yes, yes. You're right. I mean, it was horrid. You literally, I know why you have that on the right hand side there. You get a big bald spot right there. I know that's from you pulling your hair out on that on that installer. It was horrible.
No, that's from my daughter and my granddaughters.
Oh, it's the other side, right?
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It was horrible. I mean, Debian, like, yeah, Debian is the granddaddy, one of the granddaddies of them all, and it was around. But it was you literally had to sell a kidney just to be able to get the patients enough liquor in you enough to be able to get it installed. I remember those days. It was horrible. It was horrible. And Ubuntu came along, and their installer just made it so easy, so easy.
Now, in between all this, I ran into a distribution called LibreNet, and
I heard them, but I never
LibreNet's
played with them.
installer. Well, LibreNet's installer was actually better than Ubuntu, and I the developer he died from cancer and
Hmm.
didn't keep it going. Now I can't prove it, but I'll bet you anything that Ubuntu took that installer and said, "Hey, let's make this our own."
It's possible. It's quite possible. I mean, back then everything was still open source. War Thunder says he's watched people like NC Commander or N Commander install old Debian, and yeah, it looked rough. It was rough. Back in those days, it was really rough. I think Ubuntu revolutionized Linux to a degree completely from start to finish, from the GUI tools that it implemented, the ease of installation, right down to the package management system and the repos that it started to maintain for it, and putting drivers in in the repos and stuff like you said. It did a lot for it. But then I think the next one that came along that kind of drove the bling bling and the prettiness was PCLOS. PC PC Linux. I call it PCLOS, but PC Linux
Yep,
OS. And I did a video on it just because they actually had an update, and they did it because they're still maintained and still around. And I
right.
installed it and I did a video on it, and I had quite a few people say I still use this to this day. And I was like, man, that is so cool. And that was based off of I think it was Mandriva or Mandrake. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Ubuntu, Mandrake would have never been created.
Well, a lot of these distributions would have never been created because it taught people you could fork some shit. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." And they built a template, and then everybody just started forking it. And so yeah, I mean that was that. Yeah, yeah. No, a lot of this stuff wouldn't have been around. And once again, that was like I said, the corporations, and they, like I said, they didn't pull anything back. So what if you look at the grand scale of what they have pulled, it's very little, minuscule.
I mean, if you want to prove what competition does, and all the people in business or the government, business and stuff like that, and the DOJ and all that, all they
Hmm.
need to do is look at the Linux community overall, and it literally shows you what competition does. It brings about all different types of software ingenuity, breakthroughs. I mean, if it wasn't for the Linux community overall, for the competition we have,
Hmm.
there's a lot of things in the software industry that would have never changed.
This is true. This is very true. War Thunder says, I may not use Ubuntu anymore, but I respect it since it was my first distro. That and my favorite Minty distro, which he's referring to Linux Mint, uses a lot of Ubuntu. And he brings up another solid distribution that is, if it wasn't for Ubuntu and the practices that they've done, wouldn't be around. And I can't begin to tell you how many new to Linux users I've referred to use Mint and started them off, and I've installed it for them and set them up running on Mint, and they were like, "Why was I even on Windows?" And that, like I said, if it wasn't for Ubuntu, where would it be?
Yeah, and if it wasn't for, I mean, Mint wouldn't be as big as it is if Ubuntu wouldn't have did the little slip on the banana peel and pushed Unity. A lot of
Yeah,
people, including me, left Ubuntu because of Unity.
yeah, yeah. He says just passing 3 years strong with Mint. It's a solid, solid distro. I have it on my laptop on my ThinkPad because my ThinkPad is getting older, and a lot of these more it doesn't have the it's got the older graphics cards in it and stuff like that because of course they're embedded. I can't upgrade them. I wish I had a framework laptop for that, but I digress. At any instance, I put Mint on there and it just works. It just works. The NVIDIA card in there just works. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah, it's solid. Unity, what I think the irony about Unity is how everybody left because of Unity and they got rid of it. But then all of a sudden, this kid revives it and so many people want it. You know what I'm saying? It's like that
Yeah.
makes you scratch your head. Like,
Isn't
was it really crappy back then, or was it that it just wasn't implemented at the right time?
isn't is this kid the same kid that had 105 distributions boot on one computer, where he could choose between 105 different distributions, including Windows 3.1
I
and
think it's the same
Windows
kid. I think
95
it's the same
FE,
kid.
etc.?
I think it is the same kid, but then also he's also doing work on a couple of other projects, and so I think one of them, I'm not sure if it's Vanilla OS, but it's also one of those immutable distros that's gaining a lot of traction. So he's got his fingers. This kid's, uh, he's actually he's actually got a team behind him of a bunch of other younger individuals, and what they're coming up with is just amazing. Long and
He's a
short of it.
positive product of ADHD.
Sure, or maybe he's just speaks computer.
Yeah.
One of those kind of people.
He's a born multitasker.
Yeah, I mean, but yes, he's in quite a different project. He's doing a lot with his team, and a lot of good stuff has come out of him. I mean, and like I want to give a shout out to Oglo the nerd. He's in a lot of people's discords. He's got his own YouTube channel. Go check him out at his on his channel. But Oglo is a younger individual. I think it's about. I first met him when he was like 14. He hopped in our Discord, and when he was like 14, but I think he's like 16 or 17 now, somewhere in that area. And he's developing. He developed his own compiler now. He's doing a lot of stuff. Like he did Reborn, is it Reborn OS? Yeah, Reborn OS, Rebos. He did Rebos,
Rebo.
which is an amazing tool that he created that lets you have reproducibility on any distro that you're actually on. I mean, it just he does a lot. He's done a lot of code. He's helped out Steve with a lot of things for Zero Linux. I mean, this the youth that's coming into the space right now is definitely really taking up the mantle a lot. They're like, we can make this better, and they are. You know what I mean? That's the good thing, and they're doing it fast. I'm impressed. Like we're talking about, new users coming in to use Mint, Linux Mint or Ubuntu or something like that. These new youth that are coming in or younger people coming into to Linux these days, they're jumping right on the Arch and Nix train, which is wow. You know what I mean? They've already got this stuff kind of figured out, which is kind of impressive, And so in that way, I feel that the future of Linux is going to be so much brighter because it's getting we're on like a regular 15 or 40 watt bulb, and now we're literally looking at 8 to 6,000 you know what do you call those, the meters that they use to measure light, but uh
Lumens.
lumens, yeah, 6 to 8,000 lumens on LED now with these people coming in and writing stuff for Linux. I think we've kind of hit. If you notice, there's not a whole lot happening in Linux for a reason, and I think it's because a lot of these people are getting the ground underneath their feet, and what they're getting ready to put together as projects is just going to start taking off again. We're going to have a huge expansion in Linux, like we did with the desktops and the environments and the GUI.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Oglo, well, I don't need to, but I would like to make a quick public apology to him. When he first come in to, I think it was Matt's server, he just come in bombastic. I mean, just like a water buffalo man charging through the front door. He just came in and he was just loud and talking about doing this and doing that and everything. And he being older, I'm like, leave me alone, you know. But I really I'm wanting to look at his videos and stuff and learn more about him now.
Yeah,
So I just apologize for judging him right off the bat.
yeah, well, a lot of people made that mistake. He came into my Discord too, and he was just and I could see, because he hit me, he messaged me on the back end, so I was having, other conversations with him. But a lot of people, he was just a very eager kid that was trying to be heard, and I could see that he just went about a lot of things all the wrong way, and now, you know, he's just so amazing. I love Jackson. He's just a good kid, and I am in his corner. I am rooting for him every day. I really am. He's a good kid, and he's done a lot more than some of these other youth that have hit the channels, that have been publicly spoken and done whatever they're going to do. But Jackson has stuck around. He's taken the blows from people. You know what I'm saying? And he's turned around and helped them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I think I assumed he was the usual troll, and that's where I shut him out.
yeah, yeah. No, he's awesome. And what's interesting is you could hit him up and like be like, "Hey, I need your help on this." It's like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do it. So yeah, I mean, and that's why I'm so excited for the future of Linux. That's what I can't wait. I can't. I can't wait to see what's coming on. That's why I keep checking the news and all this stuff to see what's going to happen. It's going to be there. It's coming. It's coming, and I'm telling you right now, us old geezers, we better hang on for the ride because I think we're going to go on a wild one this time. We thought the last one was a little wild. I think this is going to be a little bit even more wild. But we're going to see them dudes be like, "What? I didn't even know that existed. What?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, throwing the AI in there. I can't wait till
Yeah.
they incorporate making your own home clusters. Where us old fuddy duddies and our ancient optiplexes that we have laying around, we can tie them together and make them into a supercomputer.
Uh, anything's possible. I mean, AI is doing some. You know, I got into an argument with another YouTuber that became pretty public and pretty nasty pretty quick over AI because I simply made a comment that you're gonna have to accept AI, no matter whether you like it or don't, whether you condone it or not. It's here and it's here to stay. And I at the time I could even see the projection for it, that it was not something that was going to be stagnant at all. What we were experiencing at that moment in time was just the spark, and the whole roaring fire was yet to come. And we are still getting to where we're just getting past the kindling. We're getting into the actual bulk of the firewood that we're getting ready to burn on it. You know what I mean? So, so AI has exponentially grown so fast, so quick that people are just more stunned and shell shocked, I think, than anything at the capability that's reached that so far. If I mean, that's kind of a fair way of putting it, but this is nothing compared to what we're getting ready to have. So yeah,
Yeah.
I do believe that what you just said is the early distant future of AI.
What sold me on AI? I was a curmudgeon about it. I was like, nah, I don't want that on AI. And so I went and installed that. I mean, GPT for all, and I just experimented with it, and I asked it.
Is that the open source?
Yeah, the one you can put on your own
Yeah,
computer and
yeah, yeah.
download the models and stuff. Yeah, it works pretty good. Uh, I went and asked it theological questions. I've been recently reborn and just exploring
Well,
text,
congratulations.
the Bible and everything. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, let's ask it a religious question since this is a mechanical device, basically. And it gave me answers that I were just dead on and helpful. I was like, wow, I would have never even thought.
Wow. Well, so I haven't played with AI in a minute, but outside of some image generation and some video generation, but I haven't played with it like in Chat GPT or anything like that, asking questions or code or anything like that. So that's impressive to hear that it's learned so much. Like I said, it was I could tell that the trajectory that it was taking off at, that it was going to be very fast and very quick and exponentially growing. And more and more, I mean, the way that people were adopting Copilot and Llama and and all these things, and what's his name? The Not Llama, but the one that Google uses. What the heck's it called? I can't remember what it's but anyhow, there people were adopting the use of it so fast. I could tell that it was
Oh,
going to learn real quick and be blow up fast.
well, the thing I don't like that it's blowing up at is your uh, video AIs. And one, I'm getting sick of the video, the flick video look when people do videos, and it just I don't like the look of it. And
Are you
the
talking
other
about content
is,
creators that are saying, "Hey, make me a video talking about this, and this with a guy that looks like this, that?" You know what I'm saying? They're creating a whole video.
well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've seen that.
but plus at the same time you have music content creators that is that they don't have the money, they're going to AI to create a music video for their song. And it may look slick, but it just doesn't impress me. It basically tells me that they're not really working for what they want. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I've noticed another thing, and this is going to fool a lot of people. A lot of people that are vulnerable is in your shorts, like in Facebook and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You'll see, Ryan Reynolds, you'll see Keanu Reeves, you'll see Denzel Washington, and they'll be quoting inspirational things to people, and
It
it's
wasn't
not
them that ever
them;
did it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's an AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
And that
absolutely.
part scares me.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I could go right now to an AI. I think it's like maybe 20 bucks, 30 bucks a month or something like that. And I could have it generate a video of me doing whatever I tell it to do. And it'll have my voice down, the way I look, all that crap. That's scary. And that's where I think War Thunder said, not all AI is a problem, but a lot of people abuse it for the wrong reasons. And to me, it won't be long before if you are like on a channel like we are, or you're a celebrity personality, you're gonna have to copyright your own face. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to copyright your own face. And and if you have people out there that are making videos using you in it, or your voice, copyright your voice, your face, sound, your style, everything. You know what I'm saying? So that way you have a way of combating these deep fakes out. So you could submit a
Yeah, I mean,
copyright.
they're gonna have to come up with, AI contracts. What they're gonna have to come up with.
Yeah, they're gonna. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, that's an interesting topic right there, in and of itself. I have no idea what is the. I mean, I don't think anybody has come. I mean, everybody's so kind of on their heels right now with the what how fast it's growing and all the capabilities that it's grown into being able to be doing. You know what I'm saying? The people has haven't thought of how do we copyright these things, because you have. I know a lot of schools in the beginning were complaining about literary copyright infringement because students were using it to do homework and copying and pasting things, and stuff like that. So they haven't figured out how to stop that. And now it's gone beyond. A lot of artists are having their portraits and a lot of their paintings and stuff kind of copyrighted, copied by AI and made into other things. I mean, so it's gone into the artistry world like you're talking about. So yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's thought of how can we oh, look at the fat precious. There's no way, there's no real way of people got to figure out how to combat that. I think that is definitely something that's got to be seriously addressed here pretty soon by. I don't even know who does that. How do we do that? Is that a global, AI commission? Is that what it's going to take? I mean, what, because a lot of these people are both here in our country and in several other countries.
It's gonna take world government intervention, togetherness, actually, so maybe that's a good product of AI. I mean, I think they let AI into the wild too fast. It's like, having a bunch of wild horses and you have 1 or 2 that are easily tameable and
Hmm.
workable, but you don't let the whole corral out just because 2 are that way. But that's what they did. They just opened the
Yeah,
doors and
yeah. You could
it
you could
came out
argue
too
that in a way, but
fast.
then again, it wasn't. I don't. I would argue that the truth of the fact is that no matter when you release AI, it was destined to do what it's done. It was
Right.
just going to explode. Period. Even if you tried to calculate the risk, you still weren't going to mitigate that explosion. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
So that being said, that's something that is definitely an interesting thing to look at, and possibilities. I mean, it's scary to think of the possibilities that it's capable of doing right now that we haven't even heard of that is being done. War Thunder brought it up in the chat that a lot of people are using it for bad reasons, and they just haven't come to light. Some of the major things that might be happening going on. I firmly believe that, and that's the scary part for me. Is that a lot of people are talking about, like, what was it, Skynet from Terminator, right? Was it Skynet?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sky. People are talking about Skynet thing. I think Skynet is just like an inch of what it really is going to happen. Outside, I mean, world domination is pretty. It'll be a lot uglier. You know what I mean? If it isn't moderated, and that's where I feel that's where I feel somebody needs to step in. I'm not much for you know regulations, and I'm more in the capitalistic side of things. Let capitalism do what it does, which is create a great competitive market for a. It inspires better products because of the competitiveness of it. You know what I'm saying? People get the best of the best when that happens, instead of being sold only whatever it is that they want you to have. Does that make sense? What I mean? And so,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
So
the thing is us in the older realm, the aged people, we're going to have to turn into the regulators.
yeah, maybe so, but then again, who's they? Because I'm not gonna argue and tell you that some of our own generation haven't been great people.
Yeah, no, they haven't. But the thing is with AI, it can increase speed as to which people think that elderly are expendable. Bad enough now as it is.
No, no, no.
But
It had. Well, to be honest with you, AI will eventually make just people expendable. Forget the age. Forget the age. Some job markets are just going to suffer horribly. Others won't. I think until they make an AI robot that can actually kind of like what the heck was that one? What was that one? There's a series on HBO where it was an AI world and you went into this world and you there were everybody, like all the characters, you relived like a fantasy scenario. You paid money to go there on like vacation. And you like say you wanted to be Billy the Kid in the Wild Wild in playing the Wild Wild West theme, right? They set up this little world with all these AI robots that played all the different characters in there, from the saloon, bartender, barkeep, right down to the hookers, to everything. You know what I'm saying? To
yeah,
the
it was a Westworld remake.
Westworld, yes, that's what it is. Westworld, yes. Something that is when that happens, that's when people are going to become obsolete. Because those
Yeah,
AIs in that were just scary. I mean, that show really made me. I was like, this is scary. Like, everybody thought, because what it like totally like correlated to in my mind was Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. When they had to flip tricorders out that would scan a body, tell you what was going on medically with them. Wow, that's really bright. You know what I'm saying? And all that stuff. And the next thing you know, not 20 years later, we had flip phones, Verizon flip phones that looked just like the tricorders. You know what I'm saying? And so when I saw those robots, I'm like, crap, we're in trouble. This is going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, the progression is happening.
Yeah. Well, I know that what makes me also think about that too is in Tacoma, Washington, one of the hospitals here actually has a pilot program for, and I don't know if they're still using it or if, they terminated the pilot program or not, but they had a pilot program, would probably be the better way to say it. They had a pilot program that had little robots that were, I don't know if they were like Roomba robots with a stand on it or whatever, I don't know, but they were a robot that were actually assistants to the nurses for getting stuff for the patient. It would go to the machine, get whatever it needed supply wise, and bring it to the nurse.
As long as they bring it to the nurse.
For the moment, but then when does
Yep.
that next step happen? That's that's where that's where the pause needs to be. That's where the pause needs the thought, the focus needs to be at. Where are we drawing that line? Where are we drawing that limitation to say, hey, we can't have this kind of interaction? You know what I'm saying? Because the potential for danger, the potential for misuse is far too great beyond this line. It's for the greater good. We can't allow that to happen. You know,
I agree.
and you have, but the thing is you have people that don't. The problem is you have people that don't see the same line. They see it at different times. So either way, that's just food for thought on the techie stuff of the year and whatever. This has been a great podcast. Thanks.
Problem.
We're past our hour by just a few minutes. So if you got anything you want to promote or say or anything like that before we sign off.
I just got a real quick FYI. If anybody out here has purchased HyperX Asus add-on cards for M.2 drives, you can put up to 4 M.2 drives. I bought it a couple years ago and tried to install it on Windows, and it would not work no matter what, enabling bifurcation and all that stuff. The latest updates to Asus BIOS has bifurcation and auto mode, and so I decided to pull it out and try it. Now, the one thing I was afraid of is, see, when you put the add-on card in your slots, if you have a 16 by graphics card, it will dumb it down to an 8 by. So,
Oh,
because it has to use the lanes.
yep.
Now, with two M.2s, which is what I have, two 1 terabyte M.2s, it only
Are they
have to.
NVMe or SATA?
Now, they're NVMe.
Okay,
And if you put all four on, then you quarter it.
correct.
So that's where your loss is on the add-on card, because it wants those lanes. So my reasoning for it is I was having USB power issues, power distribution issues. So I wanted to reduce my footprint, and every time I hooked up my external Sabrent, which had the M.2 drives in them, I would have to do the disk trick to be able to use the drives again, where you go into disk or KDisk or whatever,
Mm.
and you click and you tell it to repair the file system. Then you don't have to do that thing where you go into Windows, have Windows see it, and then give it back to you. But that's a neat trick. But that's why I decided to go ahead and try this. Now, I did drop half of my graphics card lane,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't seem to affect what I can notice. And the transfer rate between my onboard M.2 drive, I have
Mm-hmm.
two 4 terabytes, and transfer rate between the 1 terabyte and those is just
Mm-hmm.
ultra fast. And what I did was I did RAID 0 so I could use them as individual drives
Oh,
versus
nice.
one big drive.
Mm. Nice. Well, that's a solid FYI.
So,
That's solid. That's cool. So for me, there's nothing else that I really want to promote other than I do want to apologize because I know I had said in the last podcast that I was releasing videos from or a few that I'm going to do for Zero Linux and also my TrueNAS thing, but work. So at my job, we have picked up a contract for uh, supplying the steel for a very large corporation. It's building a very, very large of a football. And so we've been getting, like the other day, we had 13 rail cars that came in for the week, right? And we had to get them all offloaded because a lot of this stuff is already sold. It's coming in and going out the door as fast as we get it. In fact, they're back ordered a lot of it. They're like, we need this, and this done right now. So I was unfortunately tied up with that, and I didn't get to release those videos. But I am working on them this week for sure, and I will release them. So they're coming out. I'm sorry, I don't mean to drag on and promise these things that are not happening. They actually are happening in the works. Either way, stay tuned. They are coming, and I apologize for the delay. Other than that, uh, thank you guys for all your continued support. Thank you for all the love that you guys have given me and the DMs and also stuff for all the stuff that's been happening with people checking in on me. I love this community. I'm so proud to be part of it and be a face of it, as well as I'm sure Hipdad is as well. You know, and so guys, stay stay tuned, stay blessed, keep on doing what you do, keep on linking, and above all, stay happy.